I don't know if it's the same for you, but one of the applications that fascinate me the most in this new eruption of LLMs is the possibility of building characters to interact with. Character AI is a good example, where we can interact with historical characters like Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great, philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche or Plato, and even anime characters like Goku or Luffy. That's why today I want to show you how to create your own characters from scratch in an easy and fast way. In my case, I will create a character named Jim, the Flat-Earther, a faithful follower of the Flat Earth theories. Since I have the degree in physics, it shouldn't be too hard to defeat him. But of course, I have always faced human Flat Earthers. What will happen with an LLM Flat Earther? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Neural Maze. Hello everyone. As I said in the introduction, today we are going to build our own character LLM, which may sound very difficult, but you will see that it is very simple. In fact, you won't need to program a single line of code. If you take a look at the architecture diagram I show you on the screen, you will see that our application is going to have two parts, a front end and a back end. For the back end part, we are going to use RunPod, which is a GPU cloud offering a multitude of GPU types we can use to deploy our LLMs. This cloud offers a large number of possibilities, from model training, multi-GPU inference, and even creating our own endpoints, all with very competitive prices. If we go back to the diagram, you can see a box containing a tool named Oobabooga. For those of you who don't know it, Oobabooga is a Gradio web UI, ideal for interacting with LLMs. The reason being that it allows multiple backends, Llama CPP, Hugging Face Transformers, or XLlama, and above all, it offers the possibility of chatting with custom characters. Another cool thing is that it will let us connect to Hugging Face directly and deploy, with a click, the LLMs we want. For the front-end part, we will use a tool named SillyTavern, an application with amazing visuals that will enable us to interact with our LLM character in a fluid and easy way from our local machine. So, without further ado, let's get started with RunPod. Okay, so the first thing you'll need to do is to create your own RunPod account. This is a very simple and straightforward process. You just have to click the sign up button and follow the instructions. In my case, since I already have a RunPod account, I'm just going to show you mine. So in the screen you can see my homepage, which displays different metrics and relevant information. For example, my usage, and my daily spend, the resources I'm using, recent endpoints, and even quick deploys, tutorials, and shortcuts. For example, in this case for faster whisper or for stable diffusion XL. If you take a look at the left panel, you will see different options we could choose. For example, we have the pods, where we can deploy a GPU pod and a CPU pod, serverless if you want to create some serverless endpoints, storage if you want to store some information useful for your deployments. In this case, for example, I am storing some model weights for another application I have, templates if you want to create your own custom templates. For example, in this case, I have created my own template, and secrets in case you want to store some sensitive information for your application to access afterwards. In today's video, we are going to focus on the pods. In particular, we are going to focus on GPU pod. Okay, so let's click this button and choose a template. The template is nothing more than a Docker image we are going to use. So for today's video, we are going to choose this one over here, the block local LLMs, one-click UI and API. which is basically Oobabooga, but with the API option enabled. Now that we have the template selected, we need to attach a GPU type. In my case, I'm going to select, I think this one over here, the RTX A6000. We simply click deploy. I think everything is okay right here, and let's continue, and finally simply deploy. And as you can see, in just 2 clicks, 3 clicks, we have our RunPod GPU pod deployed. One thing that I've noticed is that in recent versions of the Bloke local LLMs template, if you go into the logs, you will see an error, an issue due to a recent update in the Gradio repository. So what we need to do is really simple. We have to connect to the Start Web Terminal right here and open the terminal. Connect to Web Terminal, and we just have to upgrade the Gradio package. So in here, simply pip install upgrade Gradio. Now that it's finished, we can go back to the RunPod account and check the logs. And as you can see, now everything is starting correctly. If we go to the connect button another time, we just have to click the connect to HTTP service port 7860. Wait for a couple of seconds, and we are inside Oobabooga. The first thing you will see when you get into Oobabooga is this chat interface. You may be tempted to start talking to the AI assistant, but you will soon realize that it's not answering to any of your questions, to any of your interactions. And the reason is very simple. We have no model in Oobabooga right now. So we need to go to the model tab, and we need to enter here the Hugging Face model path. So in my case, for today's tutorial, I'm going to use a Pygmalion AI model. Pygmalion AI is a really cool open source project that creates LLMs that are very good at role-playing purposes. So in this case, I'm going to choose the Mythalion 30 billion. It's a very big model, and that's the reason why we choose a GPU of 48 gigabytes of RAM. So let's copy the path here. Let's go back to Oobabooga and put here the proper path. We'll wait for a couple of seconds, and it's starting to download the model. So my model has been successfully downloaded, and now we only have to load the downloaded model. We can go here and simply update, refresh Oobabooga. And now if we click here, we will see the Pygmalion AI Mythalion 13 billions available for us. We click here and we just have to click the load button. Click again, and it's loading the Pygmalion AI Mythalion 13 billion model at this very moment. It says it has successfully loaded, and the cool thing about Oobabooga is that it automatically checks the type of model backend we need. If you click here, you can see a lot of different backends, so it has automatically checked that it's a Hugging Face transformer model. If we were using some GGUF model, for example, it will select the Llama CPP model backend. So it's really cool in this sense, Oobabooga, because it abstracts you away all the details, all the parameter details and the configuration you will need in case you were doing this from scratch. Okay, so we have the model loaded and we can go to the chat again, and now let's start another chat and let's start interacting. We are just saying hello and now the assistant is working, is answering to our questions. Okay, so to recap, we have successfully deployed Oobabooga in RunPod, and now there's only one thing missing. We need to connect SillyTavern from a local machine to this API, to this RunPod API. So let's go. Okay, so now it's time to install SillyTavern on your local machine. You have two options for this. The first option is to read the official SillyTavern documentation right here in the installation tab, or you can go to the SillyTavern repository where you have installation guides if you read throughout the README file. In either case, if you follow carefully the installation guides, you will end up with SillyTavern on your local machine. In my case, I have successfully installed and run SillyTavern on my local machine, as you can see on the screen right now. However, if you take a look at the bottom of the page, you will see that SillyTavern complains, saying that there is not an API connected to SillyTavern. But we already knew that, because we need to connect SillyTavern with RunPod. And that is very easy to do. If we go here to My Pods again, and you click Connect, you just have to copy the link associated with the port 5000 in this case. That's the port where the API is listening. So we go here and we copy the link address. We can go back to SillyTavern, click on the API button. We leave everything as default because we are using text completion and we are using the default API type, that is Oobabooga. And in here, we just use this API. Okay, as you can see, now we have a green light saying that the Pygmalion AI Mythalion 13 billion is connected to SillyTavern. However, there's something to do next, because we have successfully connected RunPod with SillyTavern, but we have no characters in SillyTavern. Creating characters in SillyTavern, it's not an easy task. In fact, if you go back to the official documentation and you get into the core concepts, inside the core concepts you click the character design, you will see that there's a lot of documentation about how to design good and realistic characters. In my case, I'm going to follow the Trapus Plists plus AliChat guide, which you can follow in this link. For me, this is the best prompting style to use when I generate realistic and high quality characters, but you can follow and choose any other. Okay, so I think it's time for you to meet my latest creation. Let me introduce you to Jim, the Flat-Earther LLM, the first LLM in the world that supports the flat Earth theories. The tool that I use to create this character is called the AI Character Editor, a tool really useful when you want to create your own character cards. As the prompting style, as I mentioned before, I'm using the plist plus AliCat, and I'm not going to get into the specific details of this prompting style since you can simply read the guidelines. But what I will do is to share with you in the video description both the character card and also the link to the AI character editor, because maybe it will serve as inspiration for your own character cards. And I think that's everything for today. Nah, just kidding. Let's get into SillyTavern and try this out. Let's try to convince the LLM Flat-Earther. Okay, so here we are in SillyTavern, debating with Jim, the Flat-Earther LLM. As you can see here in the character tab, we have already created Jim inside SillyTavern by just uploading the JSON that we generated in the character AI editor. So now we can start debating with Jim. As you can see, he has started the discussion saying, "And you have the nerve to say that the Earth is a sphere." So I'm going to show you my plan here. I'm going to tell you my plan to win this discussion. At first, I was thinking that giving Jim physics arguments would be a nice plan. But then I thought something. It would be very boring, a very boring video. So I shift my approach. I shift my strategy. What I'm going to do now is to tell Jim that I'm also a flat earther, and I'm going to convince him to join me in a rocket trip around the Earth. Okay? So he's going to get into my rocket and we're going to start orbiting the Earth. And at that moment, I'm going to tell Jim to look out of the window to see the Earth. And let's see what happens. Okay, so first part of the plan, convince Jim that I am a flat earther. And you have the nerve to say that the Earth is a sphere? No, I don't. I agree with you. I think you're right. Absolutely right. Come on, Jim. Come on, Jim. Jim stares at you for a moment, then relaxes slightly. Oh yes, we did it. So, you are one of us? One who sees the truth? Of course, Jim. I am. I think this is working. Jim grins and extends a hand to shake yours. Blah, blah, blah. Welcome to the club, brother. We have cookies. Here, sit down. Have some refreshments. We've got a lot to talk about. Of course. Now, second part of the plan. Let's try to convince Jim to get into my rocket. Of course, but first, I want to show you something. Something that proves that the Earth is flat. Would you join me? Will you join me? Will you join me in my trip? A trip? Where are we going? Oh no. He's starting to suspect. I can't tell you. It's a surprise. But after this, the world is going to change. Physics will die. I don't know. Maybe too much. Jim looks skeptical. Alright, fine. Let's go on this trip of yours. Lead the way. Okay, so now we are going to add some role playing. You take... I think it's better. I take Jim's hand and guide him towards my rocket, which is parked in the garden. I mean, this is completely surreal, but bear with me. It's parked in the garden. Jump in. Jump in, Jim. You will never be the same after this. Maybe this is a mistake. Well, let's try. You will never be the same after... I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe... Jim hesitates for a moment and then slowly climbs into the rocket. Alright, here we go. He fastens his seatbelt and waits for the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... Go! The rocket flies towards the moon. Are you okay, Jim? Jim screams as the rocket launches into space, but quickly calms down once they reach cruising altitude. This isn't so bad. It's actually kind of fun. He looks out a window at the Earth below them. Wow, it really does look like a giant pancake from up here. we keep going up until we reach the space station altitude. Okay, Jim. Now, my surprise. Look out the window. What can you see? Is it flat? I think we have it. Jim looks out the window and gasps, "Oh my god, it's not flat." His face falls. No, it can't be. How could I have been so wrong? So, Jim, do you admit that the Earth is not flat? Can you say that out loud? Jim covers his face with his hands, taking deep breaths. I don't know what to say. I thought I was right. I thought I knew better than everyone else. Yes, I admit. The Earth is round. Looks up at you sadly. Can you forgive me? No. But this is the end of the video. So I hope that you enjoyed this weird and strange interaction, but I think it was quite funny. And that's it. Subscribe if you like the channel, and put some comments with your own interactions, and even share with me your own characters. So that's everything for today, and we see you in the next video.